Oh, hey! Well, something's a little weird there. I think it's.
There's a guy.
Ready! Wait a minute. Ready! Activate! Wait a minute. Ready!
Action!
Activate!
Perfect.
And everyone's a director around here. It's really hard. Help me.
That's better than.
Oh, wow. Hey, welcome everybody to Action Activate, the Power Ranger review, talk, question, answer, whatever show. Yeah. So I am the Gazbot Knight. I am hosting it typically with the Dawg Defender, who will be here just shortly. I threw in that little interaction between me and Paulie, who played Bulk and Hyperforce Yellow, just to. I've shown it before, but I love it so much. I just wanted to share it again. So thank you for everybody for checking us out live. Anybody who's lurking, anybody who's watching later on YouTube. What we're doing today primarily is going over Beast Morphers episode 8, but we're also going to talk about the news, any questions and answers, and just general Power Ranger stuff coming up and going down. So let me pick up the Power Ranger thing. There we go. This is our template. So as you can see, the Dawg Defender will be joining us in that little area right there. And I'm going to put up my art. I'm also an artist, for those that don't know. I, among other things, do Power Ranger art, and I have a video above me, and I did a new piece for this week. It's not print ready, but it's pretty far along. Oops, that's the wrong one. Oh, maybe that is the right one. Sorry. I might have these out of order, but it is art of our newest Ranger. Yep, I do. So I missed the beginning of this somehow, so we're just going to go from this point on. I had to break it up into a few pieces because it was a large file, but you can see above me, secret revealed, it is a headshot of the Gold Ranger, the Beast Morpher, spoilers, who gets introduced this episode that we're going to be discussing, episode 8. And let me check chat real quick. It looks like we got Matt Kendall Clare. How awesome with the Bulk Jack doing that. Yeah, oh, he was a lot of fun. That was really, really cool. Dally Girl, hey Dally Girl. And they're saying hi to each other because everybody's friendly here. So that's great. Looks like the Dawg Defender is starting to get hooked up. You can see that the little picture of me has turned into a blank picture of a person, and he's gone again. All right, well, he's figured out his tech difficulties. Hopefully he'll be able to join in a second. I'll check my phone to make sure he didn't say anything to me. No. Okay, so before we get into the episode proper, a few things to talk about as far as news and things like that I have, and then when Bigdawg gets here, he could chime in. One of the things is we've talked before about the toy line, the Lightning line specifically, not the Beast Morpher stuff, but the collectible 6-inch $20 figures. Oh, look at that! I think the Bigdawg's here.
There we go. Sorry about that.
Hey.
My Hangout kept booting me.
Not a problem. We just started. You didn't miss anything really. Matt Kendall said, "Here we go with the Evox problems again." Yeah, well, he was soundly defeated Evox this time. So, but yeah, I was just starting to get into news, and I was going to start with the Lightning line stuff. And we talked a little bit about the problems we had, well, not we, but the world has had with shipping delays and things like that. And what I was going to go with this is there's 4 figures in the line currently that are available. I ordered 3 of them through Hasbro Pulse, which is their, kind of Amazon Prime, but just for Hasbro people. So you pay a subscription. I got it for free because they offered it for free if you made a purchase in the beginning, but typically you have to pay. And I ordered 3 of the 4. Lord Zed was already sold out. I also pre-ordered Lord Zed from my GameStop. And it is the 29th today of April, and everybody but me has their figures. Not everybody but me, but I mean, they've been available at Target and Walmart, and they're coming out everywhere. And I know I got some for the Bigdawg, and let's see, and I'm annoyed that I joined the premium service and ordered directly from Hasbro, and I don't have my figures still. I think they're supposed to come tomorrow, but I should have had them. How come I'm getting them later than other people when I ordered them directly from Hasbro? That's a little bit annoying to me. It makes me be like, well, maybe I'm better off just getting them from Target.
Yeah.
Let me see. Matt says, I actually got the Rangers Lightning figures from Amazon. There you go. And see, I ordered my Lord Zed from Amazon a long time ago, like 2 months ago. I still haven't got it. So it's inconsistent as well. Some people get them, some people don't. So I'm hoping they iron that out. I'm obviously still getting them. The toys themselves look good, but I'm just unhappy with the fact that in the past I've been like not gotten the pre-order and hoped I'd find them in a store. And this was one time that said, I want to support this line. I'm very excited about it. I'm going to pre-order all of them. And I still have none.
I will say from the 2 that I have Mighty Morphin White and Dino Charge Red, and out of the 4, they were the ones I was least looking forward to. Granted, I'm very excited about all of them, but even those are awesome. Slight issues that I don't think are necessarily QC. I can't tell based on my issues that I'll get into in a sec if they're QC related or just I happen to get one that had this issue. But with my White Ranger, the way the gripping hand is, I can't get Saba into it comfortably.
Oh, that's not good.
Where I'm leaning more toward I have one that's just a little too tight that I need to maybe heat up or
boil it in water
stretch a little bit.
sometimes. Yeah.
Yeah, because I've watched multiple reviews and nobody said, "Oh, like this is a recurring issue." So I'm thinking it's just me.
Just you.
But other than that, I mean, they crushed it.
I mean,
It
like I
was
said,
so good.
they look so. That's why I'm so upset because I want them. You know.
Yeah.
Well, unless you have anything on Lightning Line, that was mainly I just wanted to complain that I don't have mine. Is basically what I wanted to do.
The only thing about Lightning Line is I was able to pre-order Goldar a while ago.
Me too.
I did it through GameStop. I don't know
Me
if
too.
maybe he was already in there or what, but now I'm seeing a lot of articles of pre-order Goldar. I'm like,
Yeah,
okay,
I'm noticing that too. But when they had,
Yeah.
I think it was there was some Toy Fair. When they had Toy Fair and they announced everything, like a day later, I was able to pre-order it from GameStop. So
Yeah.
I've had my pre-order in for him for a while, and unlike the other pre-orders, you have to get him from GameStop. Goldar will be a GameStop exclusive for those that don't know. So if you want him, might as well pre-order him because you're not getting him anywhere else. But yeah, you're right. I have seen maybe they had another convention where they mentioned it again, but yeah, I've had my
Yeah.
pre-order in for a long time.
Keeping on the line of Power Ranger toy news,
Yeah.
some more images in package were revealed for Roxy's avatar, which
Oh.
were cool. But the only problem is it's kind of greenish.
I think I saw the same picture. You don't have, yeah, I unfortunately don't have one ready to throw up. I wish I did.
Yeah.
But I'm hoping that's just like the lighting or something.
I mean, either way, it's great that we're going to get it.
Agreed. And
Yeah.
sorry.
Oh, I was going to say the downside is if it's green versus the metallic yellow that we really like, we'll have to see. But what were you going to say?
What I wasn't gonna say, but I'll say now is if it could be painted yellow, if it's not green. But yeah, we will miss the metallic, is unfortunate. But I was gonna say I've also been re-looking at pictures that came up from Toy Fair a while ago, with the gold and silver Rangers for obvious reasons. If you've seen this week's episode, and they look pretty good too.
Yeah. I'm just excited to have all of them together, the full team.
Agreed.
But speaking of news and/or spoilers,
Sure.
for those of you that have not seen Avengers, I highly recommend you go see it.
Mhm.
Gazbot and myself got off social media,
Yeah.
avoided certain websites to not get spoiled by Avengers, and I did it. I'm so glad I did
Me
it.
too. I didn't get that spoiled, and I also didn't get Game of Thrones spoiled. But you know what did get spoiled, strangely enough?
Huh, what could it be, Gaz?
Episode 8 of Power Rangers Beast Morphers. And you know who spoiled it? Not a friend, not a jerk on a message board. Every member of the cast and the official, Power Ranger sources, all of which days before the episode aired. And again, these are spoilers. If you haven't seen the episode and you cared, stop watching. They all spoiled that Nate became the Gold Ranger, complete with pictures of him in suit and videos. And I wasn't trying to watch, but it's like, why? And I understand they want to hype up the Sixth Ranger and it's a big news thing, but do it the day after for the reruns or something.
Doing it now, especially in the midst of everything we just discussed, and doing it next week, I really don't understand. If anything, you'd get more traction next week.
This week was such a big deal with one of the biggest shows in the world and one of the biggest movies in the world. And Power Rangers like, oh, by the way, we're going to blow our secret to try to compete with that. Like
4 days before. 4 days.
It's terrible. I don't understand why. I really.
And the funniest part is when you start to watch the episode, it's pretty apparent this might happen. But then they just be like, hey, you don't even have to watch. We'll just tell you.
Yeah.
There you go.
And they often show, I understand they want to get hype up, and they'll often show, here's a clip from next week's episode, which I don't normally watch those anyway because I just like to watch the show fresh.
I don't either, yeah.
But usually it's like, oh, that's a look at what the week villain of the week looks like, or here's a new gun or something, which doesn't spoil the whole thing. But, this was not just the reveal of the Ranger, but, the plot of the episode. It wasn't just like, oh, I got the new Morpher. That was the whole plot. So that really bummed me out, unfortunately. But we'll let that go for now. Two other news things. Oh, by the way, I have a hard out at 6:30 today. So normally we let it go until it goes, but come 6:30, I got to be out, unfortunately. Two other news pieces. One, do you want to talk about the hiatus?
Yeah, so I wasn't aware of it until they were like, by the way, it's not coming back
Me too. Me
until the
too.
fall. I was like, all right
So for
then.
those that don't know, this was episode 8. We've had Beast Morphers for 9 weeks. Of those 9 weeks, there was 1 week they took off. So there've been 8 episodes, and they're saying they're not going to come back till the fall of this year. Now there's some debate of what fall means. Is that the end of August? Is that, but at least
September or whatever, yeah.
at least the end of August, beginning of September, we're not going to get any new episodes, and nobody's happy about this.
Yeah.
They were just getting up the momentum. They're getting a lot of good positive vibes for this season. The toys are doing well, and now they're going to stop. And also, if there's 20 episodes for the season, which I believe they are because of the whole Nickelodeon contract thing that they can only have 20 episodes per year, wouldn't they do 10? Why do 8? Are they going to have 2 in the middle, and then, or are they going to have 8 and then like a special? Like
I didn't understand it.
right.
I'm obviously very biased because loving the show that I don't want to go that long without. But
Sure.
honestly, the thing I was most bummed about, I can handle it. I have Ranger stuff in the interim. For those that just got into it and started watching, I'm not sure how much of a return they'll get in the
Yeah.
fall, and that's what worries me.
Agreed. Like adults that many of whom jumped on the bandwagon because of the new Hasbro thing or because of seeing shows like ours that are suggesting,
yeah.
and kids too. Like so, for us, a few months is a long time, but for a kid, that might as well be an eternity. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, so I'm really bummed about that, and I'm sure there's legal contractual reasons behind it, but I wish they would just show the whole show. And then
Yeah.
rerun it. Just rerun it in the summer or whatever, so people could have another chance. I don't understand why they do that. I wish they didn't do it. And that they had the Nickelodeon contract runs out, I think 2021. And there's a lot of talk of now that Hasbro owns it, maybe at that point they'll try to switch to another venue, Netflix or who knows what. But I like Nick. I like that it's on Nick so that the most people can see it, even if they don't have Netflix or whatever else. But yeah, it's a weird thing. Matt Kendall Clare, can't wait for the episode review. I was trying to predict questions you might ask, so it took a lot of previews. I have to look up some info. He's like, enough with the news. Let's get on to the episode. Okay,
Yeah, right.
Well, we'll skip the hiatus. There is one other piece of news that I don't want to dwell on too much.
Oh yeah, I forgot.
I don't want this to be a drama channel, and I don't want to.
Yeah.
There's been some drama in the Power Rangers world, centered around some negativity towards Nate becoming the Gold Ranger.
Mm-hmm.
I think let's forego saying the individual who said it. You could find out if you want to know. You could find out, but I don't want to. I don't want to add to the name calling and the like. I don't want to add to any.
Yeah.
But there was an individual within not the fan base, but within Power Rangers alum, somebody who had worked on the show, who made some less than kind remarks. Hey, Green Ranger. They had made some less than kind remarks about the actor Abraham. What's his name? Abraham Rodriguez, who's playing Nate, who is again spoilers revealed to be the Gold Ranger.
Yeah.
And it wasn't the worst thing I've ever heard, but it certainly wasn't kind.
No, yeah. The thing that got me about it that is unfortunate is the Ranger community is very family friendly. It's very communal.
Positive. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. It's very rare that I hear negativity other than previous actors maybe bickering a bit, but rarely is it something that's negative or potentially perceived as hateful.
Right.
In the person's apology, they said it didn't come from a hateful place.
Right.
It was using inappropriate terms for the time, and even in the past they weren't appropriate, but just kind of putting their foot in their mouth, for lack of a better term.
It seemed like they made a mistake, and then they kept doubling down on the mistake, and then eventually they apologized. But even after they apologized, they keep saying things that are not helping themselves. And again, you could look all this up. I don't want to say who it is because I'm not looking to attack them or throw them under the bus. I just I felt like we had to acknowledge it. And I will say there's been a lot of outpouring of support for Abraham, not just from his fellow cast members, from other members of the professional Ranger community and the fan community, and a couple, just like there was a member of the professional Ranger side that had kind of originally said the things, there were other professionals that have stepped up and defended. And so it's overall turned into a positive thing, but it's unfortunate that this individual who, again, we kind of hold to a higher standard because of what they represent has sort of let us all down.
Oh, I was going to say, I think the real takeaway from this, to kind of bring it back on a positive note, is looking at this person's response to the recent episode. I mean, as the running joke goes, I'm not always the biggest fan of the Blue Ranger on the show.
Right.
I would never say any of the things that were said
Right.
about the new Gold Ranger. I mean, it's okay to have opinions. It's another thing to say things that are over the line. So
Yeah.
I think the thing to take away from this is keep it positive. It's okay to have opinions, but don't make it even perceived to be from a hateful
Right.
place,
And
that's
there's
not what we're about.
correct. Even if it isn't, it could be perceived. And there's also a big difference between disliking a character and commenting on the person playing the character. And let's just leave it at that. I don't want to go too far into it.
Yeah.
Matt Kendall-Clear says, "LOL. I don't think anyone likes the hiatus." Agreed. And I know who you're referring to, and I wasn't happy about what they said either. Yeah. Like I said, it was kind of a negative, but I think overall the community is better for it now because everybody kind of came together.
We've come together, exactly.
Yes. So let me.
In the theme of coming together,
Yes.
What is your knee-jerk reaction to this episode? Yes, no, in between.
Awesome. 2 big thumbs up. I loved it. The way you say that, I feel like maybe you didn't like it as much as me.
I definitely didn't like it as much as you. I didn't dislike it. My biggest negative, I would say, before we jump into it, is I hated the pacing.
The pacing was fast.
Yes.
I agree with that.
With the gravitas of this episode, I would have loved it being a 2-parter or just building up to it maybe a little bit in the previous episode or something else. But I was so bummed that it ended when it did, especially taking into account the hiatus.
Yes, but what would be worse if it was a big cliffhanger and then the hiatus? At least we're not stuck on a cliffhanger for whatever 6 months or whatever it's going to be.
Yeah, that's true.
But I do agree it was quickly paced. I prefer too fast to too slow if I had to pick.
It depends on the episode for me and why it's too fast or too slow.
Okay. Well, we'll get into it further as we go through the episode, obviously. So
let's jump in.
Let's jump in. Let me get in here. Oop, that's not the right thing. There it is. Okay, so we start with the command center. Well, it's not actually called the command center, but Grid Battle Force. The cyber gate opens. So we know Scrozzle's been working on the cyber gate, and obviously now things are coming to fruition. And we see Ben coming down the hallway, and he's using his tracker to look for something. And so there's Nate, and of course he's like, "Oh, it's not working. It's just Nate." And I like this bit of comedy. I dig this scene.
Yeah.
I like that. Where's the shot? Right. Well, I took a lot of screenshots of them just saying, "He's like, it's not working. Where's Betty?" Mm-hmm. I don't know why, but I really like this shot from inside the machine of Nate just be like, "Why is the ice cream not coming out?" It was just like a fun angle. And then of course she's inside, and she looks so smug because she had the little tracker, but she's also proud of him. She's like, "Good job, bro." Like again, their relationship, they're goofy, but she's supportive of him, and I don't know. It's just a fun little moment, I thought. Go ahead.
I was gonna say I loved from an acting perspective the dedication to the ice cream portion.
Yes, here's. Oh, you know what I just realized? Look at the cones. See those cones? They're all like multicolored rainbow cones, which seems awesome.
That's kind of cool.
Yeah, I didn't even notice that, but like I want to get ice cream out of that machine until the ice cream started pouring. Now, I love her face acting. I dig the joke. She says brain freeze. I got no problem with any of that. Do you know what I have a problem with?
I honestly don't know.
Okay, here's another shot. Oops. Actually, I just have the one shot. No, here it is. That is not ice cream. That is slime. That is gack. That is not even close. It's not frozen yogurt. It's not sherbet. It is slime. And
I took it as melted sherbet.
But it's slime. And I'm sure from a production point of view, they had to do it for that reason because they don't want dairy on whatever, But it didn't bother. Like up to this point, like a quick shot, they could get away with it. But when they cut to this, and he has a good face there too. When they cut to this, it was just so. I mean, I played with slime so much as a kid, and it was just so obvious. Like I love everything about the scene, but I just wish they could have done that prop a little bit better somehow. I'm not a prop master. I don't know, but it would have been fun. It would have almost been better if it didn't look like ice cream, but it didn't look like slime either. It was just something else,
Something else entirely. Like if instead of the ice cream coming down, it could just been sprinkles or some kind of accessory or something else.
Yeah, exactly. Just anything. Yeah. Okay, so then he's like, "Oh."
The face acting, I was like, that was the thing I was most excited for. Once they open, I'm like, "Oh, this is gonna be a big Gazbot moment."
Yeah. There's always good Facebook acting. Let me adjust my little art thing here real quick.
Facebook acting?
Oh, did I say that? It's Facebook acting. Yeah, they're going to be their Facebook profile pics. For those that don't know or just joining us, this art above here is mine. I am the artist as well, and one of the things I do is Power Ranger art. So I did a head sketch of the Gold Ranger that I worked on previously, but you can see the work developing above me as we go. So then one thing I thought was interesting, we cut to then Nate in the lab, which there's nothing wrong with that, but it's odd to cut from like a scene of Nate to a scene of Nate without a transition. It's not wrong, but it just struck me as interesting. Let me see. The Green Ranger here says maybe it was ooze. I like the way where your head's at. Nick is famous for its slime. That's true, and I'm not against slime. It just but yeah. If they somehow tie Ivan Ooze into this, then that I will eat my words and say that was the greatest little that was the best little thing ever. So Nate's working on a gadget. There's nothing weird about that. He's always working on gadgets. But if you notice, it just sort of looks a little different and gold, and he puts it up there. He doesn't go, "Hey Rangers, look what I built for you." He's sort of like, "Oh, I'm going to put that there." Putting together his bag, and he puts stuff in his bag that we don't see necessarily, and he has his communicator on. Something's a little off, and which we definitely know because of all the previews. But even if you didn't, you'd be like, "What's he up to there?" Kind of. And the Rangers come in. Let me check chat real quick. Matt Kendall Clare beat me to it, Dolly Grow. I was going to say something similar. I was going to say it makes sense with it being slime. Yeah, because of Nick. So the Rangers come in, and Devin's been wearing that shirt a lot lately. You notice that?
I know. That was the other thing I noticed. Is I'm like, oh, here we go. Here's another. I was going to say one quick note about when he puts everything up there. I like how, from a story point perspective, obviously they got to keep some of it consistent with the Sentai footage. But with this, I like from the story point of, as he's making more upgraded things, it's a little more sleek and streamlined. So the little blaster he has is significantly smaller than the big they've been using, but theoretically has the same capabilities or more. So I really liked that touch of like, here's the new upgraded stuff that I'm making, and here's stuff that's still good. But,
I had not at all thought of that, but that makes perfect logical sense the way technology works. I agree. Is your laptop plugged in? Because your audio broke up a little bit there.
Okay, it is plugged in, but unfortunately my connection's been a little buggy. So
it's been mostly fine.
Yeah.
Just giving you a heads up. And so there, as he was saying, also something, it's kind of a nice touch because they have the blaster and the sword, and they've got duplicates of it. And again, it's sort of foreshadowing that there's going to be two Rangers, but they have shown duplicates of weapons before, so it's not an immediate, like, why is there two? Like, they've already established that they make multiples. So he's like, oh, I'm going to go out and do, get some DNA, and here's your buddy Ravi. Like, they're all kind of saying don't go out, but Ravi's like, hey, man, you're too little to go out, or whatever he says.
I had a tough time with this because on the one hand, we've established in previous episodes, don't go out, something bad's going to happen to you.
Right.
And on the other hand, the condescending side of like, you are incapable of not getting captured. And it's like...
Right. And if you remember way back when they first told him he couldn't go out, I didn't like that. Because he was just out, he wasn't in danger, he was just out shopping like a normal person. And they're like, you can't even leave the base. And he wasn't personally attacked, he just happened to be in the area where an attack happened. So he's never been targeted before. So, like, now, of course, in this episode, we see that he does get targeted, but I was always
against... Which is why I'm like...
Yeah, I know. Well, so anyway, Ravi says that. But, of course, Zoe being the most diplomatic one, they're all like, you can't go. And he's like, oh, come on, you can't. And she's like, hey, we'll tell you what, how about we keep you company, buddy? We'll be your friends. And, like, it's still a little bit patronizing, but at least she's approaching it as, like, we'll be your friends, we'll keep you company, as opposed to the other two. They're like, we got to protect you.
Yeah.
So then from there, we cut to the warehouse where we see some Tronics, up to Tronics Good. And inside...
I like seeing that many Tronics together, not in a fight scene.
Yeah, and they showed that a little bit at the end of the last episode, too, where they're just working as a workforce, putting things together. And so we see more of that here. And at the end of the last episode, they were teleporting with all these pieces somewhere, and then this is where they're teleporting to, a warehouse, which we speculated where it was. I don't know if that's the same warehouse that we saw earlier where they had the fight or not, but it is a warehouse in the real world.
That's my headcanon, but I think you're right. It's probably a different one.
I could be convinced either way because I don't remember what it looked like. All we know for sure is it's a warehouse in like meat space with the Rangers. And so Skazla is putting together the portal, the cyber portal, and these guys show up, and I love the part where they're like, he's like, oh, I'm putting this all together, but we need a body because, I can't build this robot. And of course, they've been showing that helmet forever. So it's like, we know he stole the helmet, and here we go. And but what I find interesting is he realizes they need Nate, and Scrozzle is like a pretty resourceful dude, and like it's kind of like I feel like Scrozzle probably could build it, but fine, maybe he's good at building like the bodies, but the inner programming he's not that sophisticated, and he knows Nate had built the computer which was able to hold Evox, so there's a little bit of logic there. I'm okay with that. But then he's like, here's who we're going to get. And instead of saying Nate, the scientist that works for, Power Rangers that we all know about, he's like, I have this magazine. Let me show you. Science magazine. Boy Genius creates revolutionary robots. I actually didn't realize. Inside the latest and greatest news from the world of high tech. And I love it. I want a copy of this magazine for my wall. It's just, it's so awesome. And where did he get this magazine? Why does he need? They have video surveillance of the Rangers. They've seen, it's just, I guess it's mainly for people who haven't watched the show before, but it's just such a fun prop. Like I want Abraham Rodriguez, if he starts doing conventions eventually, and not all Ranger actors do,
to
but
have
if he
copies that he
signs. Yes, and I want him to sign a copy of this for me. I would love that. I think I missed a little chat. Let's see. Matt Kendall Clare. By the way, that warehouse, I want to mention that it's not the same one from episode 3. Okay, well, thank you for that. Yeah. And Dolly Girl, I loved Family Double Dare. Indeed. Yeah. I think everybody loved Double Dare, assuming they saw it. Well, it's back now. I haven't really seen the new stuff, but there is a new version.
I haven't either, but Double Dare 2000 was a soft spot for me. I really liked that show.
Yeah. It keeps coming back because it's kind of a universal theme of a game show with gross stuff. What's not to like,
Yeah.
All right. So
one thing of note that I liked is the avatars theoretically could have pieced this plan together on their own.
Right.
But I like how it took Scrozzle to be like, you need to capture this specific person. They're like, oh yeah, Nate, we could have captured him like 9 times by now, but great. Yeah, let's just get him now. Why didn't we think of that?
Right. Well, I guess they theoretically could have captured him for other reasons, but they didn't need him for this specific reason until just now. But I agree that they're like, oh, it'll be super easy, barely an inconvenience. All right, so I'm quoting a YouTuber I like right there. I don't want to take credit.
I've seen the new Double Dare, and it's pretty good, but the obstacle course seems pretty easy. I'll have to check.
I mean, I did hear stories about people getting hurt on the really old ones, so maybe they had to kind of change a few things.
Yeah. I always wondered how you had to shoot around that, since it was in front of a live audience, where if somebody just has a bad fall, you're like, man, let's look at our sponsors again. They just have a bloody nose or something.
I think they shot in front of a live audience, but they didn't broadcast live. So they would tape a few episodes, they do a lot of physical challenges, and then they would spend time cleaning up and everybody waiting. So if you went to see a taping, because I read some of this recently, you went to see a taping, you wouldn't be there for a half hour to an hour. You'd be there for hours to watch the show that would be then cut down,
Yeah.
But so Nate's outside with his, guardians, and he's getting praying mantis DNA. And it's interesting because he doesn't say, hey guys, I'm building a new Beast Bot, or I'm working on a new Morpher, or whatever. He's just getting the DNA. And when he's built the guns and other things in the past, he didn't seem to need DNA. He only needs it for bots and Morphers and Zords, so it seems. So it's kind of odd that they're not like, what are you building? A new Zord? A new, they're just like, oh yeah, whatever. They're almost disinterested in what he's doing, which I guess is part of the plot here. So he gets that. Again, I like this prop. I just something about the aesthetic, and I don't know how much of it comes from Sentai, but I just really like the aesthetic as a whole.
The thing that frustrates me about this scene is when they have to go, and he's like, oh no, let me finish. They're like, no, you have to leave. It's like, you guys couldn't leave one person for literally the minute it takes him to scan that. You were just there the whole time. It's like, no, guys, right now, all 3 of us have to leave. Nobody can hang back. We can't all teleport separate. That makes no sense. That part frustrated me from a plot perspective.
I agree. And I also... let me skip ahead to that point you're talking about. So she shows him, I forgot about that. She shows him a spider, and he's scared of spiders.
That part was actually good, because theoretically it's like, maybe that'd be a little bit better for, different attributes. And he's like, no, we can't do it. I hate that.
Yeah.
That's a great point. Nope, can't do it.
Yeah, but it is impressive, too, that, other bugs don't bother him, just spiders.
Yeah.
And so, so she's involved and kind of trying to help, even though she's just scaring him. They're playing some video game. They don't care. And then he finds the beetle, which is the other one he's looking for. Yeah. And they're like, oh, we got a call. We got to go. And this is what you were talking about, where they're like, we all got to go because there's an emergency. And he's like, well, I just found the beetle. It's right here. and they're like, sorry, we got to go. You go home. Everything you said, I agree with. They could have left one behind. He could have teleported.
Yeah.
There's a lot of ways they can. But also, he was like a minute away from being done. They could have even just been like,
that
okay,
was the part.
we'll give you 1 minute to finish. And then he's like, fine, I'll go, but I'm going to spend 1 minute to get this. And I don't think that's him being irresponsible. I think that's reasonable. Going, okay,
I think so too.
I'll
Yeah.
finish this scan. They're like 6 feet away from me, yet somehow he scans it, and in the time it takes to scan it and look at it, they show up. How did they not, like, how did the Rangers not hear? It was like they must have, like, been walked away, and then they teleported 1 second. It was like, even if Scrozzle was watching and was like, they're gone, go in! Like, it would still be, it's just perfect timing. This comes into what you were talking about the pacing. Like, if they should have either had this take longer or have Nate be like, well, I got to go over to that other rock or something. But it really seemed like impossible that the Rangers didn't see this happening.
Yeah, the way I think about it now after recapping it is the villains did something to distract the Rangers to get them to go. They go immediately. They run, drive, whatever they got to do, teleport. They leave immediately. Wait a sec. Come in, and they're like, oh, hey, by the way, Nate, you're by yourself. Let me capture you.
And that is what happened, but it just would if there was one other scene in between or something, it would have been,
Yeah, and
good.
the other thing, too, is from a character perspective, I'm a little peeved that they didn't write it where I feel like Zoe would have been like, no, like, this is pretty important. I'll stay with him. You guys go. And then I'll catch up. Where it's like, nope, sorry, we're all leaving. Yeah,
especially because they've done a good job of having the Rangers go on their own missions and not always need to be the Megazord and stuff. Matt Kendall-Clare says, I believe it was a Scarab Beetle. You're probably right. I don't know, but that sounds good to me. And the commander actually said a Robotron was in Sector 3. It still fits with the whole NATO alphabet thing. Yeah, they've been doing the military NATO alphabet thing consistently, which is cool. Let's see. So they capture him with the strap things that she always uses. Has she used them in her human form before? I was trying to remember because she doesn't actually morph and uses them. I'm not saying she can't. I just don't know. Yeah, I just don't remember. It's just not important. But we do see that it cracks his communicator, so he's not going to be able to call for help. I
liked that little touch.
Yeah, me too. Because it's always like, why wouldn't he just hey, haha, hey, how come you're not wearing your morpher? What if we get into trouble?
I forgot.
No, we did not discuss it ahead of time. I just realized I was wearing mine, and you now have one.
Yeah. Next week I will.
You don't have to. It's fine. But I realized you could. So now we cut to this Robotron who I don't remember what they called him. Do you remember the name they gave him? They only said
Vaccutron.
Vaccutron. That sounds right. They only said it once or twice because unlike other episodes, we don't see its creation. We don't see Scrozzle find a piece of something to build. We don't see the avatars transform it. I'm not complaining, but it was just like, oh, well, they make them all the time. Here's the one they made this time. Whatever. Uh-oh, did you freeze? I think the Bigdawg froze. Vaccutron. Let's see. Danny F9. Hello, Danny F9. Welcome. And thank you for the bit. That's very nice of you. Vaccutron sounds right to me. The Bigdawg froze, so we're going to plow on. Actually, let me check if I could restart him here. No, he's frozen on both ends. All right. So Evox is definitely messing with him. But Vaccutron, we don't see his origin, but that's fine. What I found interesting, excuse me. What I found interesting is I don't think I got a shot of it, but he's using his vacuum to suck Morph X, but it looks like he's just sucking it out of a normal car. So that struck me as odd because are all the cars powered by Morph X now? They established that some of the bikes were. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe this was one that belonged to the commander or something, but it was just an interesting, instead of having him sucking out of the bikes or a tank or something like we'd normally see. Now he has the Tronics filling up his tanks on his shoulder, pulling them off, and then, going to container holders, a bigger container. I think that's a nice touch too. Excuse me a second. I think the Bigdawg might be communicating with me. I'm trying. Oh, wait. I think he's coming. Bigdawg, is that you? He is trying to reconnect, according to my communicator, which I should have here. Bigdawg, are you there? He is trying to reconnect. He connected for a second. I'm gonna refresh. Sorry for the technical. Join again. Let's see if he's there. Bigdawg, can you hear me? Bigdawg, come in. It's me, the Gazbot Knight. No, all right. Well, he's still working on it. Evox is battling him in cyberspace. Yeah, Matt Claire. Evox got him again. Sent the Gigatronics after him. That's big trouble. Well, some pushing on though, since I do have a little bit of a deadline, I don't want to not get to the end of the episode. We can see that the Tronics are taking off the container he filled and putting him in a bigger container for storage, which I think is a neat thing. We don't see that a lot where like the utility changes. And they're filling these barrels on a truck, and that's important to remember for later. So when we cut here, there we go. We see it, and Vaccutron literally says, like, don't spill a drop. Oh, there's a little bit of trivia. The voice of Vaccutron, we know as Ben Burke of Ben and Betty, whose real name, actor's name is, I might mispronounce this, so forgive me, Cosme Flores. But anyway, Ben got a crack at some voice acting, and he does Vaccutron, and I think he does a great job, because if I didn't know that, I would not know that was him. So it did a good job of masking his voice and being a little bit of a chameleon there, as an actor should. But, it's cool that he, being a face actor on the show, getting to be a voice actor at the same time, that's tricky. You don't always see that, and he pulled it off great. So, good job for him. So... meanwhile, he's saying, don't spill a drop. We need every drop. And he makes a big point of saying that. Again, this will come up later. So then we see them pull up in the car, which I guess is going to be just a trope, that they have the cars from Grid Battle Force and they use them, and fine, whatever. It doesn't bother me. It's just interesting. And it is a thing where, because Devin has Cruise as the bike and these two don't, I wonder if later they'll get something like Cruise or like Battle Bikes. I tell you, oh, poor Bigdawg. Yeah, I know. Oh, he looks like he might be trying to make it busting back through the Cybergate. Bigdawg? I see a picture. All right, we'll persevere. He just keeps little bits and pieces of him trying to get through. All right, so they pull up, and it's time to fight. And he pulls out this big old rifle and starts firing, which I thought was interesting too, because you figure he's going to like use a suction attack, which, again, he does later. But he doesn't. He attacks with more of a standard rifle laser. Let's see. Matt Kendall Clare. Odd how Gaz's assistant isn't here. At least she hasn't said anything, and it was cool. At least she hasn't said anything, and it was cool how Cosme did Vaccutron's voice. By my assistant, do you mean Q, or are you talking about the Bigdawg? I'm not sure who my assistant is, to be honest. The Bigdawg I would consider more of my partner or co-host. I think you might mean Q, my wife? Maybe? I'm not sure who you mean. But moving on, we have the Rangers show up, and they're charging in. This shot is from the opening credits, which I've been waiting to see, because this is the first time I saw that cheetah shirt that I like a lot. So for whatever reason in my head, I was like, when's it coming? Oh, Airzuki. Oh, okay. Yeah, she is not here. You're correct. Bigdawg. Girl, I'm trying to get back in, but Evox is making my computer not work. I see evidence that you keep trying to get back in, Bigdawg. I don't know what's going on. I'll restart the Hangout again real quick in case it's something on my end. And I'll join the Hangout again. All right, well, we'll move on as he tries to battle his way through. And at this point is when we got the theme song, which, again, I don't know if I mentioned this before, but it often is coming about 8 minutes into the show, which is interesting. And they've done it before, but I don't know how I feel about it. It doesn't bother me as a fan who knows I'm watching Power Rangers. I know it's Beast Morphers. I'm going to watch it. But again, I think of people that just happen to tune in, or a kid that it just comes on. They might not know what show they're watching and have to leave and never know the name of it. Or they might think, oh, I missed the beginning, and want to restart it even though they didn't miss the beginning. It's interesting. Oh, I think I hear some noise. Is the Bigdawg
here?
Hey, welcome back, Bigdawg. You've made it back through the Cybergate.
Yeah, Evox, man, I'm telling you. So it kept saying, like, my actual email and mine now are different, and it kept booting me and saying that the call wasn't happening, which clearly is not the case. So apologies.
Welcome back. No problem. I kept it going. I did keep going through the episode because, like I said, we're on a little bit of a time thing this time.
I heard part of it, and
okay.
You couldn't hear me, but I did like the little tidbit you gave about the voice acting of Ben. That was cool.
Yeah, I think he did a really good job, and I never would have known it if I hadn't read that. Actually, speaking of voice acting, you remember our voice acting friend of the show, Campbell Cooley? You know what I'm going to say?
Vaguely, yes.
Did I say his name wrong? I don't want to be a jerk and say his name wrong. The voice actor of Scrozzle, though.
Yes.
Last week, I occasionally do dumb little voices, and last week I was doing it a lot, and I was, I guess, at some point doing a Scrozzle. And he is nice enough to occasionally like our videos and share our videos, and he shared last week's recently, and he must have watched at least part of it where I was doing an impression of his character, and so I'm a little embarrassed that he heard me do that. He was very nice about it. But it was, it's sort of like, playing basketball, and then Michael Jordan's like, hey, I saw you playing basketball. Like, oh.
You're like, oh, why?
Why would you? I'm sorry that you saw that. Campbell Cooley. Real quick. Campbell Cooley. I was mispronouncing his name.
Oh, okay.
Sorry. Yeah.
I think the best response he could have given you for the situation is,
Yeah.
I really like how you do jacks.
Yeah.
And then just left it, and you'll be like, all right, there we go.
All right. So anyway, getting back to the episode, he pulls out this big blaster, and they're hiding, strategizing, I should say, and they go immediately into it's morphin' time, you know, which I think is smart. You know, they're gotten to the point where like, okay, we know the deal, and he's got the Tronics, he's already got the Morphex. I missed kind of the civilian fight because I like the civilian fights, but logically I understand why we wouldn't do that.
Yeah, it's just the theme of pacing for this episode.
Yeah, and we get into no, but they do have a full morph sequence here. I don't think have we seen a quick morph yet? Maybe in the first episode briefly, but they've basically been doing full morph sequences most of the time.
Yeah, they've been doing them mostly. We got a lot of quick morphs in the beginning and sprinkled in one or two other episodes where it was just a boom, instantly.
But I guess I don't think they've ever done an episode where they didn't have at least one full morph.
Probably. I think you're right.
And so then they start flipping in for the fight, and they land. And I don't have a ton to say about this fight. It was fine. It didn't blow me away like some of the other fights. There was nothing wrong with it. It was good.
Yeah.
I don't know if you have any specific comments on it.
No, it was a fight, and it was fine. I'm not gonna say anything great or terrible happened in it. It just kind of was.
A lot of Yellow Ranger kicking, which again is good, and you know, for her thing. And there was a move. I didn't get a good picture of it, but Blue did sort of another wrestling type move, like I don't know wrestling that well, a DDP or a body slam or whatever, you know.
Yeah, something.
And which I like, again, keeping thematically, like, so, you know, storytelling wise, it was fine. It was totally serviceable. And in any other season, I'd be like, yeah, that was great. But there have been so many amazing fights that it was just sort of average for this one. But that wasn't what this was about. It was about him getting away with the tanks of Morphex, which was good because we talked before about like what is the point of Tronics, you know what I mean? Like they seem to be so easy to beat, but a lot of times it is just to slow people down so that then they could get their plan on. I say, a Kid Drago. I remember you, buddy, but I also forget how to pronounce your name. You want to help me out, Bigdawg? Aki Drago. Aki Drago. Oh, sorry. Wow, I missed it. Yeah, we start at 5, so unfortunately you've missed a little bit so far, but thanks for stopping in.
Yeah, appreciate it.
So they're getting away, and the fight continues. And then he realizes they're getting away. Devin, well, everybody, but, you know, Devin being the leader is like, they're getting away. And we cut to Ben and Betty in a completely unrelated scene where they've just gotten some, I guess, sushi and talking about going to see a movie. And how do you decide what movie to see? You flip a coin, of course.
You flip your tracker.
Yeah, well, you flip your tracker when you don't have a coin. And you look up. And just at that moment, as the tracker he threw that really high, by the way.
That's what I was thinking. Not only did it go high, which is my first thought, I'm like, like thinking of distance, I'm like, if you didn't have the truck there, you would have flung it so far forward into the street. You're like, oh wow, let me go pick this up.
And also, safety kids, like, yeah, they're using the crosswalk, but it's like, floop, why not do that before you cross? It was obviously a setup because the next thing that happens is the truck is barreling down on them, but it was definitely a little bit forced that they got in that situation. Yeah. But they're comic relief, so I'll allow it. And then Ben pushes Betty, or Betty pushes Ben. One of them pushes the other out of the way, and the tracker lands on the truck. And of course, like, oh well, that's why that whole scene happened, because they went the tracker on the truck. Fine, whatever. Mm-hmm. I was talking about this when Bigdawg was disconnected. I kept pointing out things about what Vaccutron said and the way they were doing certain things with the Morphex. Yeah. And this is where it comes to play, because they're like, oh no, our chip, let's get it. And so they start running after it, and Vaccutron sees them. And there's the chip, and they're running. Okay, this sort of makes sense. I mean, they're being a little more brave than there's stupidity mixed with bravery here, but fine. And then he's like, I'll deal with these two normal humans, not even police officers. And how will he deal with them? By throwing 2 full barrels of Morphex, which he couldn't spare a drop of 10 seconds ago.
I had a huge issue with that.
That was my least favorite part of the episode. I mean, the comedy works. Their faces are good. It's just, if they were empty barrels and he threw them at them, that wouldn't bother me. But he made such a point of, this is the Morphex that we need so much. Yeah, I see. But
and the little, like, skididdling rolling that they were doing.
I didn't mind that. I mean, it's cartoonish, but I could live with that. The faces, good faces, I'm fine with it. And then they do the little skididdle rolling, which is, you know, goofy. But again, they're there to be goofy. I've seen worse. Yeah. I'm fine with it. It's the villain acting stupid that bothers me. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
those cans should feel empty. I don't know if you're saying that they could. I maybe said they could be empty. They could be, maybe, but then they need a line going, well, these are empty cans. Or, I don't know. We literally cut from we need all of this to him throwing them.
Yeah,
they could be empty. Yeah.
I was going to say, if you look at it, the way it was is they brought 4-ish barrels.
Right.
He said, we can't spare a drop. Why would they leave? Because the barrels are full.
Exactly. Because that's how I took it too. And maybe that's not what they intended, but that's how it felt. So they hit the curb and, comic relief, they go flying. Meanwhile, Vaccutron is out of there. And that's the thing, even if they caught up to the truck, they couldn't have done anything against him, So it was silly. Like, he could have just kept driving. And they didn't have to do anything. But they needed to get the tracker on there. And meanwhile, this fight's going, and they're cleaning up with the Tronics. There's no problem here. It was just a delay tactic.
Yeah.
And they're like, well, where'd the truck go? Oh, no, we got away with it. And for some reason, I guess to cover more ground, they're like, let's split up. Fine. This Bigdawg, you'll like this because, okay, they split up. So, I'm sorry, we'll come back to it. We cut to the scene. Now they've got Nate, and they're bringing him to the warehouse. And there's a lot of awesome Scrozzle posing here. A lot of just grandiose, just like, I feel like he's like, I want a poster of this, or put this on my cover. Like, just a lot of great evil villain posing. Yeah. And so they bring Nate in, and he's, oh, what do you want? And Scrozzle says in his Scrozzle voice, oh, hello, I would like to show you my cyber...
Kind sir, would you please build us the highest tech robot that you can muster?
Yes, and maybe while you're at it, you could put in some finishing touches on my Cybergate. That would be lovely. And so, Nate's like, I'm not going to help you. And then Blaze gives him a weird, like, kind of neck rubby, bully, gross touching, whatever. He's just felt creepy, like.
Yeah, too much physical contact.
Yeah. And then he's like, but I dig, like a big theme of this episode, which is funny considering the real life stuff going on, is like, oh, you're kind of young, you're kind of small, and you need protecting, and you're a wimp, and like the whole episode is about, he's like, no, man, that's not me, like don't judge a book, I have strength, and this is where it starts. He's like, he's captured, he's alone, and they have him, they're giving him creepy neck massages, and he's like, I'm never gonna help you, and which also, I don't want to keep going back to the drama, but the individual who made those remarks, I feel like there's no way he watched this episode, or I revealed it to boy.
Somebody already said he in the comments.
Okay, so but I feel like there's no way he watched this episode because it's almost like this episode was made for him. Like this is why you're wrong. Whatever. I'm sorry, I shouldn't have brought it up again. So.
Yeah.
He's like, look at all this stuff to work on. And he's like, wait, that's all my stuff. You stole this. And he's like, I know. I'm great.
He's like, yeah. So you had no problem building a robot. I already got everything ready for you.
Yeah. And he even has the blueprints, which are on red. I guess they're red prints. And so he's looking at it, and he quickly puts together, oh, you want a robot body. And this gate is to pull Evox through, and you're going to put him in he puts it together real fast, which he should, because like half this technology he built. And they do reference back the Scrozzles, the thing that Roxy stole. I forget what they called it now. The whatever that was, he mentions that piece of equipment in building the Cybergate, tying it back. Mm-hmm. So not super heavy continuity, but more than we've seen in a lot of recent seasons, which I like.
Oh, now I remember. The piece that they took was one I forget the exact name of it, but it's what helped them get their powers.
Right,
initially.
It's the thing that goes over top. I'm blanking on the name, but because she wanted to make him into an evil avatar, but they still had the piece, and he says, "Oh, the piece I got from you that goes,
That I totally missed the first time. Maybe I wasn't paying as much attention as I should.
I mean,
but I do like that now ties in for putting Evox in the robot body.
Yes, which unfortunately means it's kind of Ravi's fault if Evox got a body, but it turned out okay.
Wait, who's to blame here? What?
Nobody.
Keep going, yeah.
All right, so looks like my video finished there. Let me. I'm just gonna put up a large image real quick. That was the finished one. The video kind of got weird. Normally it would have lasted like an hour and a half the whole show, but that's my Gold Ranger headshot. Let me. Sorry about that. I got it stuck. I'm just gonna put it in the corner so it's not blocking everything. Why will it not unstuck? There we go. Now it'll unstuck. Yay. Okay. Let's put that over there. And just to give myself another plug, I don't know if I mentioned it before, but I do have an Etsy store under Gazbot where I have a lot of Ranger and other art for sale if you're so inclined. Checking out chat real quick. Matt Kendall Clare, Neural aligner was the morphing device. Yes, and I'm 90% sure he says I've got your neural aligner in there. If not, I'm mistaken, but I thought I heard that. Oh, the real Babu. Thank you so much for the follow, buddy. I imagine that is a lovely gentleman that I met at Power Morphicon, actually, who is actually the real Babu. So that's,
I think so as well.
Yeah, very cool.
Aki Drago, you're not wrong, but I'm not going to say you're right.
Daligo, thank you for your compliment on the Gold Ranger. Oh, it is. Oh, hello, sir. I hope you're having a lovely evening where you are. I guess it's a little bit later where you are, and thanks for stopping by. This is the Big Dawg Defender. I'm Gazbot.
Much appreciated.
Steve, I didn't know if you wanted me to say your name, but Steve Andrino, who played Babu at the end of Season 1 of Mighty Morphin and all of Season 2 and 3. So we have a celebrity in our midst. And if you remember one of my earlier episodes, the art I did in the corner here was of Babu, and it was after I met him. Very often I'm influenced by people I meet or things that are happening that chooses. So again, there was a lot of drama about the Gold Ranger. It's his episode. So hey, here you go, Gold Ranger.
There you go.
So anyway, so he turns around, he sees the pile of stuff, and he's thinking, oh man, what am I going to do with this? Here's the famous helmet that we've been seeing all season. What's it going to be? It's going to be a robot. It's going to be a Ranger. Finally, it's coming to fruition. We're back.
To the helmet.
We're doing it. And he looks at his communicator. He looks at the helmet. He has got a little, got the things twirling there, and he gets a little bit of a smile. And then he says, oh, and he puts on the crybaby face. Please don't hurt me. I'll do whatever you say.
Yep,
and they're like,
that.
I love it too. Great. And then he turns around. They're like, see, I told you he was a baby. But we know he's playing. And by the way, if anybody has any questions or comments, feel free to throw them out. I know we're kind of clipping through this pretty fast, but we had so much news at the top, I didn't want to get too bogged down.
Yeah.
So let's see. Matt Kendall Clare, something I want to mention. Roxy has a white blaster, something she didn't have before. Oh, good point. I noticed the gun, but I didn't notice it's not in this scene.
One thing with that blaster, so just based on the toy images I saw, she does have two different colored blasters.
Okay. Oh, you can kind of see it here.
I'm assuming maybe she's been just trading off and haven't used both in a while, or maybe I just didn't notice. But the only reason I know that is from currently seeing promotional images for the Roxy figure.
Oh, okay. Well, I did notice that it has a little like dangly like keychain thing, which I thought was kind of cool.
Mm-hmm.
Let me see it. Chat real quick. Real Babu, I linked the episode of you talking about Power Morphicon X to my Facebook page. Oh, well, thank you. That's very kind of you.
Awesome.
You are a stand-up individual and a heck of a nice guy. If anybody gets a chance, definitely give him a follow on Twitter and Instagram and anywhere you can find him. You can feel free to throw up your links, but basically the real Babu, you can find him that way. And if you get a chance to meet him at a convention, he is a very nice guy, and he smells lovely. Not everybody at conventions smell lovely, but he does.
It's true.
So here we go with now we got Devin on his beast bike. Oh, this is what I was talking about before. They're like, let's split up and find it. Devin's on cruise, and then Zoe's in her Zord, and then your buddy Ravi's kind of your buddy Ravi's kind of just sitting in the car. I mean, the car's fine. He does have a Zord. Why he chose to sit in the car, I don't know. I mean, to be fair, none of them found anything, but it was just a weird. As soon as I saw that, I'm like, Bigdawg's gonna have something to say about this, I bet. No.
The best part is now that we're 8 episodes in, most of the time I don't have to say anything.
Oh, you're the worst.
Either you will mention it, or chat's like, "Oh, you brought up Robbie, or Robbie has this big plot point. Let me see what the Big Dawg says." That's all I can really ask for.
All right. Well, moving on then. Grid Battle Force Base. We're back there. They realize they've lost contact with Nate, and we got to do something about it. The Rangers get back. They haven't found the Morphex. Everybody's like, "Whoa, what are we gonna do?" And she's like, "We got a bigger problem. You got to find Nate." And they're like, "Oh, we kind of left him alone for a half a second. We thought he'd be okay." Aki Dragu, Ravi's Zord is too big, so it's just inefficient. That's not a bad point. You know what? Point to you, Aki. That's a very good point. Bigdawg, you lose a point. Somebody keep track. Is somebody writing these points down? Because I'm certainly not. So Ben and Benny come in, and now all the plot lines are converging. We had 3 going on. Now they're all starting to converge. Ben and Benny, hey, sorry we lost the tracking chip. I don't know why they couldn't pull the leaves out of their hair on the entire walk back, but whatever. And they lost the tracking chip on the truck. And then Devin's like, yeah, the truck we're looking for. Oh, boy, here we go. Now things are working. And they get a nice attaboy from the commander. And she's like, "Good job, Ben and Betty," which is very nice of her, but it was really an accident, so whatever. Let's see. Matt Kendall Clare. Roxy. Oh, I missed this one. Okay, so Roxy previously used the Black Blaster generally in morphed form, but sometimes unmorphed. So it's a little bit interchangeable, I guess. I bet you that's more of just production stuff than character. That's just on-set stuff happening. All right, so we cut back to Nate. Does this scene of Nate working on this technology while in captivity remind you of anything? Possibly related to the biggest movie of all time that came out this weekend.
Oh, I was thinking something completely
different.
Oh,
what were you thinking of?
I was thinking of you talking about the White Light arc of Season 2 of Mighty Morphin, where they were working on the White Ranger.
Not even a little bit, no.
Okay, well, then continue.
Aki Drago got it, Iron Man. Yeah. A genius who is a weapons maker gets captured by bad guys, forced to make weapons, and instead makes an awesome robot or suit of armor for himself.
Well, okay, to be fair, I thought you were being even more specific, but yes, I did get Iron Man vibes.
Even more specific, it's the exact situation. What do you mean?
Yeah. Well, the only difference is he didn't have anybody to commiserate with like Iron Man did.
True. Well, he never had a brother. It's something he always wanted to have.
Yeah, I wish he had just that figure in his life to share his hopes and dreams and potentially powers with. Moving on.
So the Tronics show up and they're oh, did my audio just get weird?
No, you're good by me.
That must have been on my end. So the Tronics grab it. He says something weird here, like, "Be careful, it's high tech." It's like they're robots. They're high tech too, but whatever. Yeah. So they pull him away. Now we cut back to the scene. It's funny because this is the action scene, but I care a lot less about it. I'm like, what's going on with the Nate building stuff? Yeah. So they're just kind of scoping it out, but I do like that they're showing again strategy, that they're scoping it out, and he's like, "I see him in there, but he's surrounded," and blah 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 blah. And they're like, "Okay, well let's go." They take a step out of the barrel. They all get shot, unmorphed with lasers, and are kind of okay. I mean, they're like hurt, but like when I saw that, I was like, "Oh, that's the end of the fight." Like, right? I mean, unmorphed with lasers. My sort of no prize in-universe explanation would have to be that they are just stronger because they're Rangers. You know, they kind of have they're because a normal human, that should be the end of them. But so he steps out of the shadows, and now it's time for the quick morph, and they literally whoop, and there they go.
I had an issue with this fight.
Okay.
I feel like in an episode that was so rushed that it was dragging because of them waiting, of us waiting to see what happens inside. The fight outside took way longer than it needed to, either one side or another. Either they should have beat him way faster, or he should have beat them way faster based on how they were just getting wrecked from the get-go.
Yeah, I see what you're saying. I think story-wise, they wanted them to be losing because they wanted Nate to be able to come out and save them. I get that.
And I know that, but that's the other thing of it. I'm sure there's more behind the scenes about it, but it frustrated me on they needed an outside source to save them for this, and it added insult to injury that the outside source it potentially is the one that they were talking down to the whole time, where I'm like, I can't win either angle. They never had competence, but needed the help. So
I think that could have been solved in editing. Like in the universe, I don't know what the answer is, but if they started the fight later, like we were watching the inside stuff, but they started the fight later, then they could have had them lose more quickly. But they had to kind of or show just deeper in the fight of man, I don't know what we're gonna do, which I would have been fine with.
Right. As opposed to, oh, here's us losing now more. Oh, wait, we're more still losing. Losing again.
Well, they do start winning, and I think they started winning in the beginning, and I think they could have cut that out to make it more of a threat. Before we get into that, I do like how they called their swords running and just kind of grabbed them out of the air. I thought that was cool.
I like that. And the funny thing about it was how they were staged.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I guess you have to assume there's some sort of GPS system when it comes in. They're oh, it'll be within grabbing distance of the ranger who called it.
But I like that. It's pinpoint this spot, not just follow me while I'm running.
Right.
Kind of thing, which I thought was interesting.
So they have the fight, and this is what I'm saying. They start off pretty well. This is the part they could have cut out to make the villain seem more dangerous. That they were never doing well. But and again, cool flip there. So they're winning, and then he's like, you know what? I'm gonna start winning, and like it's almost like he does a Rocky, where he just takes the hits. You know, it's like it doesn't
Rocky Balboa.
Rocky Balboa. Yeah, I'm sorry, not Rocky DeSantos.
Yeah.
Rocky Balboa, where he doesn't come up with a new strategy or a new weapon. He's just like, poo, poo, poo. Now it's my turn.
Second wind.
Yeah. I think we got a new person. We got Tokusatsu TV. Oh, Tokusatsu TV. Welcome, Tokusatsu TV. Thank you for joining us. So we're middle towards the end of going through Beast Morphers episode 8 right now, where the Rangers are outside, Nate is captured inside. They're starting to lose the fight because he pulled a Rocky Balboa. He just starts decimating them. He knocks them all down. And I think this is what you were saying, Bigdawg. At this point, it's like, okay, they were winning, they're losing. Now what? And then they get up again, and I feel like right there, I love that. I love that fall. He does this back splay, like, I don't know. It was just so anime to me. It just cracked me up. And he just wrecks them a second time. With explosions, everything, and like maybe we didn't need both. Whatever, it doesn't bother me as much as the big dog. So then we cut back inside. Boom! There's the robot all put together, and he's Skrull's about to put Evox in him. Loving the props once again. They start it, and I like this sequence. Like it was very dramatic the way they cut the side, and because he's a snake, he's sort of slithering.
Yeah.
And like it was kind of slow, but it kind of worked. Like let's see, Akidragu. I feel the fight should have been equally matched and therefore longer because the Rangers this season are very competent. They lost too quickly. I agree. I took it as them trying to pump up the what was his name? Vaccutron was more powerful.
Stronger,
but they just missed a beat. Like they had him winning just because, you know, maybe he could have said like, I am a next model, or I already put more effects in me or something. I thought because they weren't being incompetent. They were just he was stronger is what was happening.
Well, the other thing that they could have used easily is they had all this more effects. He sucked all the more effects up to make him stronger. Some just easy throwaway line to be like, wow, we haven't faced anybody like this. The one thing also, speaking of more effects, that keeps getting me episode after episode, there was that episode with the Zord battle that went awry where they got a lot of more effects. The way they described it, I don't think they need more effects anymore. They're like, oh yeah, they got like 100 tons or whatever more effects.
But that's probably why they could power the Cybergate and make the robot and everything. I feel like that's what all this is for. They needed even more, but like this was the big mother load.
But they needed 4 more barrels. I mean, in the grand scheme, it's not that much.
They could never have too much power. They're bad guys.
Agree to disagree.
Okay.
Good face acting on Blaze's side.
Real Babu. There's the Twitter, Babu Real. Facebook, Steve Andrino. My pick is a Babu Pog. And for those that are just
awesome.
That is awesome. For those that are just joining us, that is the real Babu suit actor from Mighty Morphin. End of Mighty Morphin season 1, all of season 2 and 3. Go check him out. He's a fun guy. He's just started getting his social media going, so jump on the bandwagon. I met him at Power Morphicon a couple weeks ago. Awesome guy, not a fake. This is the real guy, so feel free to check him out. And then, some nice, evil faces as things are going the way they expect. Again, I don't know why, because I don't even love the CGI on Evox generally. I don't hate it, but it's not my favorite. Yeah. But this sequence, just props to whoever storyboarded it. It just worked for me.
It gave him good gravitas.
Yeah, and the prop work too, that you can see him through the lines. And then here we go. He's filling up. You see him going. There's the purple, which represents corruption, and then you see the blue going in. Let me see chat real quick. Tokusatsu TV. I want to see how they explain the Crimson Ranger. I don't know who that is. I'm guessing that's from Go Busters. I have not seen Go Busters. Don't feel the need to explain because I'll find out eventually. But I do look forward to every new how it gets done, obviously. Mm-hmm. So while they're distracted, Nate calls on his blaster. And at this point, again, if we didn't know what we knew from the spoilers going around, we might have thought, well, he's just smart enough to get a blaster. We've seen him use weapons before. The blaster comes in. He pulls it out, and again, we've seen this before, so this isn't shocking. He's competent. What I like about him, he has fear on his face, but he acts anyway. And I've heard it said before that bravery isn't the absence of fear; it's acting despite being afraid, and that's what he's showing us. And I like it a lot, and it's relatable because as much as I like Zoe and all the Rangers, as much as I'd like to be like, I'd be like Zoe, I'd be a lot more like Nate. I'd be a lot more like I'm scared, but I got to do something. Like I think that's most of us. And so he fires, and it causes a huge explosion right as Evox was about to take control, blows everybody back. Right there, it's like, oh, great job. He's done it. He's pushed Evox back. He's already a hero. You know what I mean? He's saved everybody in that moment. Mm-hmm. And then while they're down, he's like, okay, that wasn't good enough. I'm gonna run up here, implement phase 2. and pull out the DNA that I got earlier,
Upload. Yep.
upload, and he does the neural liner, and boom, now they're like, oh, what's he doing? And of course, we all know. Now the green turns gold? Why would it turn gold? Outside, Zoe hears a boom. Oh my gosh, I have to go help Nate. She starts trying to run to help him. It gets shot, falls down. I like this moment too, where she's like, she clearly wasn't being strategic. She's just like, I gotta go help my friend, and got shot for it. Which, it wasn't good strategy, but again, very heroic, very human. I'm fine with it. And so then the gold is still expanding, and inside, whoa, Nate's the Gold Ranger. What an awesome moment that was ruined for me by every bit of social media 4 days before the episode.
Yeah, that. I don't get what was gained from it.
I don't either.
I really don't.
I don't either.
Like, it frustrates me a lot because I was thinking of how we would have reacted if we didn't know of like that big payoff, and now I'm just really bummed out.
I tried to put it out of my head and still enjoy it because I did enjoy this episode a lot.
Yeah.
Here's kind of the saving grace is I knew this for a long time. Right before the episode, I got a hint of a secondary spoiler, which was that, I think the Silver Ranger is going to show up too, which I wish I didn't know that. Yeah. But they morph up, and I'm enjoying it despite having my spoiler. And they're like, we're going to take on you, Gold Ranger, or whatever. That's not anybody's voice. And he's ready for action. He's the Gold Ranger. He's ready to go. But then everybody hears a noise from behind, including him, and he's like, ooh. And there's the robot coming to life, but Evox wasn't in him. I don't get it. And then the stag beetle or whatever that is forms in from the DNA. So now he's looking like a beast bot, which is cool. Oh, he's got a beast bot to fight with him. But wait, that's not all. And this was the part that really sold it for me, even though it was spoiled, is I didn't see this coming, that the beast bot would turn into a ranger. Now, if you follow Go Busters, this might have been how they did it there. I haven't seen Go Busters, so it was a complete surprise to me.
Yeah.
Dolly Girl, surprise! Yeah, absolutely surprise. But, and I can't overstate this enough, this was all awesome and great, and I was loving it. And then he spoke, and I loved it even more. I loved it even more! Oh, man, did I love his voice actor and his character. Now, and based on a lot of the physicality, some of that must come from Sentai, because he's very, over the top and whatever, but he's playfully arrogant. He's not a jerk, but he's like, I'm great, and it's going to be awesome. And I love it. It's like Ninjor and Robo Knight had a baby, and he was a Power Ranger named Steel. And I was so happy.
We'll get to the name later.
Okay,
the name, I thought, oh my God. Anyways, okay.
Yeah, we're getting out of ourselves. He doesn't reveal. He doesn't have a name at this point. And they're like, and here's what's funny to me is like, now there's two of them, no problem. Why would you? Okay, sure. I mean, it is a problem. It's a worse problem for you. But he steps up and he's like, we're going to take care of this. And Scrozzle's like, he's the only one that grasps it. Like, this is terrible. The avatars are always overconfident. Scrozzle is the only, he's the only reasonable one. Like, Evox is just, I demand everything. The Tronics are mindless drones. The avatars think they're all powerful. And Scrozzle's like, I'm just a guy trying to get by in this evil world.
Later.
Yeah. Matt Kendall Clare, my guess is Hasbro found it pointless with trying to hide Nate as the Ranger since behind the scenes pics got leaked. Oh, I didn't know they got leaked. That showed. I know there was everybody knew there was going to be a Gold Ranger, but there were shots of Nate, the actor, as Gold Ranger.
I too did not know the pics got leaked. The only thing I saw was official post where I'm like, well, that's unfortunate.
Aki Dragu says this is original Ranger, at least in the warehouse. Right? Oh yeah, because Scrozzle's there and stuff. But I feel like they're matching the suit actor in the later scenes. The American suit actor for Silver is matching the Sentai footage, is what I'm saying, of that sort of over-the-top kind of, and I love it. I'm not complaining. I dig that kind of character. And so he's like, here's a gun for you. Let's go. And he's like, shiny, let's go. And he's just very super heroic, over the top. I love it. And then he's like, you're going down. It's like, no, we're going up. And a terrible pun, but I don't care because I love them. As much as I love Zoe and as much as I enjoyed Nate's arc into Gold, Silver is a very strong contender for my new favorite Ranger this season. I know you're shocked, but no, you hate him?
I'm not shocked, and I don't hate him. I actually do enjoy him. He's definitely, at the bare minimum, my fourth favorite Ranger.
Of all time?
No, on this season.
I know. At the bare minimum, my fourth. So what you're saying is you like him better than Ravi, which is meaningless. That's like saying I like this better than my least favorite thing.
Yeah. The one thing I will say that put him over the top of being in bare minimum fourth place was how he gets his name later, which we will get into.
We will get into it for sure.
When this fight happens, as I said, I like when they introduce 6 Rangers, for lack of a better term. Obviously, the math doesn't work. I like when they introduce him, and there's some big bad of the week that these every time you see them, they're going to single-handedly take them out.
Right.
Like, they're going to show how strong they are. They're going to do it. What I liked about this, though, which is a little bit different than some of the others that we've seen, is the partner dynamic between them.
Yes.
And that, I think, is where this wasn't my favorite episode. I didn't love the pacing, but this part I really enjoyed of us establishing them working together.
Like right here, like little team maneuvers and stuff.
Yeah. So those parts, I think, kind of bolstered them up that much more. And honestly, in the short amount of time, I feel like they work more as a cohesive team than the other 3 at this point.
Well, yes. I mean, the team works as they're much more. The other 3 work as a squad. These 2 work as partners, I think, is the difference.
Either way, my point still stands of they're more cohesive than the other 3.
It's a different way of working together. And also because of things we learn later, it makes more sense too.
Yeah.
And also I had shades of RPM Gold and Silver a little bit.
I saw that.
Yeah, not as over the top, but
that was the biggest part. It took all the good I liked from RPM Gold and Silver and immediately had none of the bad, which I was like, all right, good.
Matt Candleclair, Nate was shown in behind the scenes in gold clothing, and as we know with Rangers, they have to color coordinate with. Oh, I had not seen that. I go out of my way to not get spoilers. Like obviously, sometimes they find me anyway. But if they showed that, even if it was just, I don't know what was shown. If it was just a gold shirt, you could have maybe passed it off. If he was literally in like a jacket or something, then it might be harder. But if that's the case, that's a shame that they got leaked. It does explain more why, though. If everybody knew, then Hasbro would just like, well, let's get ahead of it. But I didn't see those leaked photos, so they still spoiled it for me. Despite that, I enjoyed the episode. And like I said, Silver wasn't spoiled for me. Like I kind of got a whiff of it right before the episode, but generally it was still a surprise and a welcome one. And I do like the teamwork dynamic. And this shot here where he jumps off and they're firing, I thought that was very fun. And they basically win the fight. The avatars sort of run away. They're like, we said this was going to be easy, but it's not, so we're leaving. And then this is what you're saying. We cut back to the main fight. He once again blasts them. I feel like they should have unmorphed here because this was like the 3rd big hit they took. And the way they established in the show, like they're out of power. They're done, And I think we cut to a commercial and we cut back and he's being blasted. Of course, we know, dun, 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 it's gold and silver. And they're all like, who are you? And maybe this is Sentai footage, which is why they couldn't be unmorphed here.
That's exactly what I thought.
I thought of that as, and he's like, it's me, Nate. And they're like, who's this guy? And he's like, and he's like, this is not a good time for introductions. Let's go fight. And I'm like, good man, Silver Ranger. You're right about that. It is time to go fight. Meanwhile, we cut back to the evil dimension of cyber evil.
Yeah, and bad doings.
And bad doings, yes. And they're like, Scrozzle, we need you to, bail us out. And he's like, yeah, you idiots. Like, why did you say, like, I'm sick of bailing.
Why did you stay as long as you did?
Yeah, and you said he'd be super easy to catch. I was like, can we get him? And you're like, oh, yeah, super easy, not a problem. Don't even worry about it. And it wasn't. You guys once again overestimated yourself. He's not saying all this, but there's subtext there. So he's
implied,
yeah, so he's like, let me send it. And I think this is a gamma model of a Giga. It's a gamma model of a Gigadrone that he mixes with the Vacu. So he's like Vaccutron, maybe is the name they give him. The naming conventions of this really make my head hurt.
Vacuum Monster of the Week.
Vacuum Monster of the Week, Part 4. He lands. They hear, we're in trouble. We got a big, thing you got to fight with the Zords. And Nate's like, go ahead, we got this. And immediately they're like, all right, he freed himself. He clearly, he clearly has this. He just saved us. So fine, let's go. And they do. They start taking tag team punches. We come back to the Zords. Let me check chat real quick. Matt Kendall, I'd like to mention something about Vaccutron. The punny writers wrote this episode. Okay, Vaccutron's correct. I did notice some puns, but it wasn't that bad. I've seen worse for sure.
Yeah, it was fine.
Yeah, it wasn't as bad as I've seen. And honestly, it bothers me the least when it's the Monster of the Week because they're kind of disposable, and it's more if it's the if Squazzle was very punny, I wouldn't like it as much. If the Rangers were always making puns, I wouldn't like it as much. So it's not my favorite, but I don't hate it, and it didn't bother me too much this episode. I always love these shots when it's like the split screen, you know.
Yeah.
I don't know, I just enjoy that. So they go in. I didn't get a good screenshot of it, but the red Battlezord just running through the city I thought was pretty cool.
That was cool.
Yeah, and he's running. Akidrago, yeah, Vaccutron is voiced by Ben's actor. We did go over that earlier, but if we hadn't, I would appreciate the trivia because that was good trivia that I don't think any of us would have guessed based on the voice acting had we not known that. So he comes in, he gives him a nice hit, and he's like, I'm here, but I'm going to need backup, which is very prescient of him because he immediately needs backup, whereas the vacuum hits him, starts sucking out the Morph-X. This makes a lot more sense than when he was sucking out of the car before. And then here comes Jax and Zoe blasting away. Thanks for the save. I know I'm going a little quick, but we only got a few minutes left, and I want to get to the end here.
No, you're all good.
So we cut back to Gold and Silver, totally dominating the fight. Gold does a weird move here in a second. Okay, Silver, he says something like, oh, there's so many Tronics. He's like, not more than I can handle, which, you know, again, you just got my heart, buddy. I love you. And then he does this slide move, which makes me think of like a fighting game where like Sub-Zero or somebody just somehow slides. Like he doesn't run and jump. It's just like, shh. And I don't know if that's supposed to be a power of his DNA, which he says is praying mantis, but I'm pretty sure it was a beetle or something originally, so I don't know why they changed that. Like I think originally they were both types of beetles. Like there was like Stag Buster and Beetle Buster or something.
I think Gold is the beetle and Silver is the mantis. So
No, I think it's a stag beetle. I think they're both beetles.
No.
I
think that the bot has attributes of both, but the morphed form for Silver is specific to the mantis.
So Gold, Nate says he's the mantis.
Which, based on the conventions of their horns, I don't agree with.
Matt Kendall Clare says that is correct, Gaz. Both were beetles in the Sentai.
Okay.
So that goes back to they're both different types.
We're talking about Power Rangers, not Sentai. I'm just kidding.
Right, but my point is that the helmets and everything resembles beetles. I don't know why they brought a praying mantis into it at all. Why not just let them both be beetles? That's an odd, unimportant change to make. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I don't. But whatever. So maybe that's a power of the beetle that he embodied. Maybe it's just a random fight thing. Whatever. It didn't bother me that much. It was just noticeably odd. Then we cut back to the fight, and Ravi switches to gorilla mode, fires his banana missiles, and I like that the vacuum sucked him up. And I was like, oh. And I literally had the thought of like, if it was like a real vacuum, I feel like that would like clog it. And then it clogged. Yeah, and I was like, that's goofy, but I'll allow it because I literally had the thought that should happen. And so since I thought it, it's obviously correct.
Yep.
So then we go into the Megazord sequence, which we don't show the shield a lot anymore, but it's implied that it's happening.
Yeah.
And then talk about fast fights. They become the Megazord. They power up the sword. They get your favorite again this sort of stasis that they never quite explain. Whatever. And then the Cheetah Beast Blaster comes in because you need that when you're using a sword, and they shoot/slice him. And that, I don't know why, but this freeze frame I thought was really cool. I don't know, like the glitter of the destroyed enemy showering down.
Always bring a blaster to a sword fight.
Always bring a blast. That's a good quote. We should make a T-shirt of that. And so, Virus eliminated. They win. But back to this fight, the fight that I really care about. And coming up, probably my favorite, one of my favorite parts. Not my absolute favorite part. But they're like, okay, they're fight, and they're like, let's finish them off with the guns. They both pull them out.
Fight.
Yeah, fight. But they pull them out, and the casualness of they're both kind of like,
yep.
I dig that. And then they pull the guns out of air, and he's like, let's go. And then he's like, hey, he just steps in front of Nate, like, I got this. And Nate's like, hey, watch out. Meanwhile, he's just like, could you stop fighting? And I love this, where he sort of pushes his head to the side. He's like, here we go.
Yep.
It's comedic, but it's not goofy. It's not terrible. It's just kind of fun. It feels like brothers that have been working together for a while. They kind of get
it. Has to be Sentai footage.
Yeah. Oh, I'm sure. And like I said, the little bit I heard was that the Silver character has this sort of over-the-top, arrogant personality of some sort in Sentai, so they adapted it. But yeah, the partnership between these two is immediately charming. It's immediately, they won me over right away. And so then they get their cool pose. They blast them. They look right at the destruction because they have sunglasses like all the Beast Morphers do.
Yep.
And then a little we got it. See, we could do that if you had your Beast Morpher on, but now it's just like, no, it doesn't work.
Cha la la.
Cha la, head cha la.
For all those Dragon Ball fans out there.
Yeah. All right, so now the epilogue back to Grid Battle Force, and we're going good because I got about 9 minutes for the end of the episode. And it's sort of like, you could sum it all up by like, hey, we were all wrong. Nate's more powerful than all of us. Also, he made a new Beast Bot.
Yep.
And they're like,
A
oh.
new Beast Bot Ranger.
Well, yeah, then they said Ranger, and then, yeah, and so they say, like, how is it that he's a Ranger? Like, you know, you had the DNA and you mixed it, and he's like, that's the best part. He's like, I'm human. And they're like, what? And he's like, no, he is. He's human. He's partially, and he's like, you know, your DNA went into me. And so, and he essentially is part human, part robot, part stag beetle, or whichever beetle he was been. And so he's literally Nate's brother, which is what he always wanted. And that also explains why they'd be so in sync, because they share some of the same DNA, and Nate also programmed him, so part of his programming came from Nate's mind. And, you know, but then he says right here, well, I'm going to need a name. Do you remember the exact verbiage of the name he suggests for himself?
I'm positive Matt Kendall Clare does, but I do not.
Okay, well, I don't remember it exactly, but I know it I'm gonna paraphrase. He's like, I think, because he's like, I'm the best Ranger. I think I should be Mr. Fantastic, super good looking, awesome, made of steel, something like that. Oh wait, that Mr. Fantastic, super handsome, strong as steel. I was pretty close. That was very close. Mr. Fantastic, super handsome, strong as steel. And they're like, well, how about just steel? And he's like, I like it. You're smart. And Devin, for some reason, goes clunk, clunk. Yeah, steel. All right, it works. Which I think was just an excuse for him to interact. But, like, you knew he was metal. I was just like, stop banging on my head, buddy.
The one thing that I just realized that bummed me out about the scene that, like, subtly doubles down on another thing is Ravi and Devin are like, wait, but like he's a Beast Bot, why is he a Ranger? And he's like, oh, here's why. And I could just see, just based on their faces, like, man, I wish my Beast Bots could do cool stuff. God, why you guys gotta just do that?
But
Nate previously bad things that I thought about them.
Nate had the Beast Bot love from the beginning, and he was rewarded for it.
And that's the thing. The good get better, and the bad get worse.
Ravi didn't get worse. He didn't get worse. And I'm not even saying he's bad. I just know that's what you mean.
You can't go lower than 0. That's why. Just kidding. Just kidding.
Listen, we already had some drama.
Oh man, if that were a headline, I would be like, well, it's been great, guys. I love seeing you, but I'm going to take a hiatus.
Yeah, it's going to be Gazbot Knight and the blank Defender, just a blocks with nothing going on.
Gazbot Knight and due to contractual obligations, we have unfortunately had to let go of the Bigdawg. But overall, what'd you think?
I loved this episode. It had some flaws. You're right. The pacing was a little bit fast at times. The Ben and Betty scene where he threw the barrels was a bit much.
Yep.
But the good, I mean, I can't be objective because I love Steel. I liked Nate. I liked the whole storyline. And when Steel came along, I loved it so much more.
Yeah.
And especially because it was like I felt like the surprise was spoiled, and then I still got a little bit of surprise, made it even better.
Yeah.
So it kind of reminds. I put this episode on par with an episode earlier where Zoe had the one-on-one battle with Roxy. Where overall it wasn't a perfect episode, but I love that scene so much. I love this scene the way I love that scene, and so those two are probably my two favorite episodes, even though they might arguably not be the best overall episodes. The highs and like the emotional impact, it's tied for my favorite episode with that episode. I give it an A. There can be an argument that maybe, again, there are reasons why maybe it isn't an A, but I give it an A.
Okay. I would say that I'm going to give a cautious B.
A cautious B?
Because,
what does that mean?
Just being as objective as I can, I think that outweighing the things I really liked and the things I didn't like, I would put it a B. But within that, the things I really liked, I think are higher than some episodes I may have on paper liked more. Like the whole gold and silver dynamic at the end, awesome. I agree with you, where if I just took that out, it would be way higher than some of the other aspects of other episodes. It wasn't my favorite just because whenever it gets to this point in any season where we introduce new Rangers or new powers or things like that, the bar is always raised, which kind of bums me out, where I like the discovery aspect of like seeing where the bar lies in terms of like when we were building up to the Megazord. Like I loved that. I loved not seeing things
Right.
or like taking longer payoffs for things. Like I feel like the Sixth Ranger was rushed, but getting to the Megazord was like great payoff.
I understand your point.
Yeah, and it's
but
because
I
of the
will.
structure.
Yes, but I will throw this out there too. I was worried they were going to start losing the Megazord fight and have to see the new Zords, which we assume Gold and Silver will have. You know, we don't know that, but it's a fair assumption. And I'm glad they didn't, because that would have borderline ruined the episode if they crammed that in too. So the fact that they didn't, I feel like they caught themselves, and that gives us something to look forward to when we come back from the hiatus. Real quick in chat, Matt Kendall Clare says Steele's voice actor Jamie Linehan, Jamie. Good old Jamie. Actually did previous voices in Ninja Steel, notably Game Goblin, the video game monster, and Brax, the reddish minor general who had a crush on Odious' female general. Okay, cool. Well, I do like that they keep the Ranger family going. And this voice stood out to me more than those. I'm also, I'm a sucker for a cheesy hero. Like I like Ninjor, I like Robo Knight. Like these are characters I enjoy, so I'm the target audience for this kind of character. Yeah. And I liked Gold too. And like Zoe's still probably my favorite as of now, as far as the Rangers go. But I would identify more with Nate if I was in the show. Like that's the kind of person I'd probably be. So the fact that my best friend gets to be the Robot Steel, like that's some fantasy wish fulfillment right there for people. I'm sure not just me. You know what I mean?
I will say Nate now as a Ranger, I would probably go yellow, gold, red, silver, blue, only because Steel, we still have a lot to find out. Nate, I already knew beforehand as a character, but it made me just realize that I'm kind of bummed with what they've done with Devin, because I loved him out of the gate.
He started really strong. Yeah.
Yeah, and now as we go, I'm like,
I unfortunately agree that Devin has lost something.
Yeah.
And
I'm always biased toward red. Always.
Right. He started off as, this is a red I'm going to really like, and I don't hate him, but and the actor is charismatic. It's not like the actor's doing anything different. There's just the writing. It feels like they did it backwards. It feels like he should have started where he is now and ended where he started. Like it's weird.
Yeah.
I don't know what my rankings are, but probably close to yours. Although I might put Silver over Gold at this point.
That's fair.
But
for you specifically,
yeah. Did you put Zoe on top?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. As long as Zoe's on top, we're all good.
And I could easily see as the season goes on
that could change.
And Nate just
that could change. Yeah. So basically, this is them going, "We were wrong about you. We're sorry. You're great. Everybody could be Ranger. You show courage different ways. Everything." This is why I said, the sort of real life controversy. Well, I hate to say controversy. Drama is a better word. The real life drama is this episode oddly sort of addressed that in a weird way, which is why I feel like the individual who was making those comments couldn't have watched this episode, or if they didn't get the point, because the whole point of the episode was addressing the comments that were made. So whatever. Matt Kendall Clare put Zoe on top as well. Nice. And then during the credits, we cut back, and this worries me. I mean, I like the scene, and he's like, "Oh, put this together, and maybe it'll explode," and it doesn't. And then Evox is all like, "Are you going to be able to fix it?" And he's like, "Yeah, I think so." And then he's like, "Well, we'll be able to get the robot body back, which is Steel." That's not okay. He's not a robot body. He's a person now. He's a Ranger. He's one of my new favorite characters. I don't like that, but what I do like is they go, "Oh yeah, it'll be easy," which is what they always say before they fail. So I worry we're going to have an episode where he turns evil for a while and has to get turned back good.
Yeah. Because
that's a trope of the show, but I know it won't be permanent, and I know that Steel is going to continue to be cheesy, butt-kicking good. And it might be fun to see him be cheesy, butt-kicking evil for an episode, but yeah, that's one of many things we have to look forward to as this episode ends and this part of the season ends. So presumably we're going to get a super season, whether they call it that or not. Yeah. So this is the midpoint finale for season 1, and it all comes from one season of Super Sentai. So that's where a lot of the Nickelodeon influence goes, and it gets kind of weird. We're at 6:30, so I have to go. I'll give a quick, thank you. Everybody watching live, always great when you watch live. Give us comments and questions. We appreciate it. If you're just lurking, that's fine. If you come late, if you leave early, that's all good. If you're watching us on YouTube later, thank you very much. Leave a comment. Share it with your friends. Let people know to come check us out. We got a few things going. Like I said, I know I keep teasing it, but it's just a matter of putting the time in. And the more people that are watching and the more views we get, the more I can afford to put time into it. One thing I will say is I'm not sure if we'll do it at next episode or not, but I have some giveaway prizes, Power Rangers related things to give away. I don't have any rules for that or whatever. Me and the Big Dog got to talk and figure out a good, fair way to do it. But yeah, thanks for checking it out. Thanks for we will be back next week. There isn't an episode of the show. We're going to do Ranger news and Q&A. Maybe we'll figure something else to do. If you have any things you want us to talk about. Yeah, if you have any, we'll do some rambling. If you have any topics or questions you want us to tackle next week, please throw them out there. In the meantime, we're going to close it out for today. Let me check chat real quick. Dahlia Girl, thank you. Have a good night. You as well. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you all.
Thank you, Bigdawg Defender.
Thank you, Gazbot Knight.
And may the power protect you.
May the power protect you. See you guys next week.